Hello, my fellow horror fans. Welcome back to Hermione's Horror Reviews. So, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a old movie. It's an old black and white movie entitled Bad Seed. Now, where does this idea actually come from? And I think I read somewhere that the idea came from this belief that some children can actually be born evil, known as the bad seed. So, I'm going to Google this because I'm very bad at names. So this is a 1956 film, and it is actually Patty McCormick played in it. All right. So the Bad Seed is about a girl who is played by Patty McCormick, who is, if you want to put it in a nutshell, she is the beginning of a serial killer. And what she does is she kills people. Now, she doesn't kill enough people to be classified as a serial killer, but in the movie, you can tell that she's very manipulative, she's very charming, she's very psychotic. So what she basically does is I believe she kills the handyman, who happens, I believe he was black, might have been white. Just see here. Okay. It says here, the film is based upon the 1954 play of the same name by Maxwell Anderson, which in turn is based upon William Murch's 1954 novel of the same name. Alright, so, yeah. So, she goes and I'm gonna look at this because, okay. So, her name is Rhonda. And she talks about losing a competition to a little girl by the name of a penmanship competition to a little girl named Claudie Delgo. I cannot pronounce the name. Well, what happens to the poor girl that won the penmanship competition is that she ends up dead. Now, I don't remember if it was an accident or it was Rhoda that killed her. I think Rhoda killed her. Because nothing about this girl is exactly what people think she is. People think that she's this really cute and she's sweet and she's perfect and stuff, but she's very obsessed over having things her way. I actually watched this movie with my mother years ago, and my mother was analyzing every part of the movie. She didn't know it was based on a play. In fact, Wikipedia wasn't around when I watched the movie, so I didn't know that. So the teacher, Miss Fern, actually talks about, I'm reading from this, but talks about how she saw Rhoda grabbing the metal, so there's kind of an indication that she's connected to it. Alright, it says here, so it says here, Christina is horrified to learn that she's actually the daughter of a notorious serial killer. She worries that her origin is the cause of Rhodey's psychopathy and that her behavior is genetic. Richard tries to convince her that it is nurture, not nature, that primarily influences such behavior. So at the time that this book was actually written, people really did not understand exactly how serial killers are created, and I really believe they're created. But towards the end of it, okay, so the caretaker's killed because he teases her about the death. Yeah. Okay. So, at the very end of the movie, she supposedly dies because she's trying to get her trophy back, and it's presumed that she is dead. So what made Bad Seed terrifying for the time? Because we're talking about movies that are horror, because somebody is killing people, but it's very mild horror. It's not the kind of like horror that you would expect from like nowadays, where you have like slicing blood and guts and stuff like that. There was from what I learned was that there actually was a clear boundaries when it came to horror. That's why, like, you go and look at like Psycho, for instance, and I'm going to do a review of Psycho next week. But Psycho is another example of horror that has a boundary behind it. You don't see guts or anything. You could show murder, but you couldn't show murder. Which means that, unlike Texas Chainsaw Massacre and other later films that no longer had that boundary, you had to not gross out the people that were watching it. They literally had to be able to sit in the movie theater and watch it. Now, the Amityville Horror... No, not Amityville. The Exorcist. The Exorcist, you get that reaction from people that are used to go into a horror movie and it's not really horrific. So their brains couldn't process what they were watching. But Bad Seed is one of those horror movies that you can sit down and you can watch it and you can analyze why Rhoda is doing what she's doing. And when I brought it home from Blockbuster, and for people that were born after Netflix killed Blockbuster, so you have no idea what I'm talking about, they had a horror section. At the time that they were closing, or they were on the verge of closing, they were actually taking their collection and going and transferred over to DVD. So the cassettes were going away and the DVDs were coming in. Unfortunately, Blockbuster shut down before they could fully transition into DVD. But Bad Seed, I saw it on there and I was like, wow, this was like a really interesting movie. I picked it up and we watched it. It's like the moment I came in, we were watching it, and it was eye-opening. And it was this simple kind of concept, is being a serial killer genetic? Now, some people will say the movie has nothing to do with like how actual serial killers come about, but it did leave a lot of people wondering. It did leave it led it sorry, not led it left a lot of people wondering if it's genetic and did the girl die. So my mother was like, she's dead, and she was very happy about it. But yeah, so I'm going to rate Bad Seed 4 stars. It is a good movie for its time. It definitely is within the boundaries of what horror was allowed to do at the time and everything. So I am actually going to be watching a couple movies that are based on Stephen King's books, like Christine and Carrie, because I was told the earlier Carrie is like the only Carrie you should watch. The remake, don't worry about it. So, yeah, so I will see you guys around.